So one thing that happens in Tomb of Annihilation is that this is the only module, as far as I'm aware, maybe Horde of the Dragon Queen does this, that does not even mention milestone. It gives you some rough estimate speculations about what levels people should be at various areas, but it doesn't actually give you too much to do with milestone, which is, I think, perfectly fine. Tomb of Annihilation is what has successfully managed to convert me over to liking the XP system more as an overall system, because it gives me, you know, a lot more breathing space. I can be much more casual about level ups and not overthink it too much. And it also helps with running more open, larger scale areas of a campaign where you don't really know where the party's going to go. There is an overarching story, but some of the pieces of it don't connect. Tomb of Annihilation has a rich and vibrant setting with all of these historic places, but not all of them pertain to the Soulmonger, the Death Curse, Acererak, nothing like that, because Acererak's presence in the world is pretty faint, at least in the public eye. He's doing a lot more behind the scenes than people know. But yeah, overall, not everything ties to the main story, so it's sometimes difficult, I find, so when you're running those larger scale adventures, to reward levels for progress, because it's harder to figure out what progress is when they're not moving directly towards the objective. I think Dragon Heist works perfectly with it. It's a very set storyline where they go from one stage to the next, and they can do anything else in between, but the way to level up is going through that main process. With Curse of Strahd, I think Curse of Strahd should be milestone, despite it being a lot more open-ended, because it's easier to quantify those levels. They've beat Argynvostholt, have a level. They've done a buttload of stuff in Vallaki, have a level. They've gone to Yester Hill, sorted out the tree, give them a level, that sort of stuff. That's easier than Tomb of Annihilation, where it's like, oh, we've done Firefinger, just a whole bunch of Terrafolk, and at the top there's a cool mask. We didn't really find too much that helped us here. That sort of stuff. So it's more difficult to reward levels for that sort of stuff. And XP comes in and says, whoa, hey buddy, I got you. And it's very nice to the DM and lets you sit back a little more. It lets you say, have 500 XP for completing Firefinger, have 1,000 for completing Mangalore, etc., etc. And if you haven't run an XP game and you're going to maybe run Tomb of Annihilation, I would definitely recommend sticking with XP. When I actually started with Tomb of Annihilation, I did not set it to XP until maybe 3 or 4 sessions in. I had, when I did set it, don't worry, I'm not an awful person, taken all the encounters that they'd had on the road, added them up, and boom, here you go. So that's kind of what I did with that. But when I'd originally gone into it, I hadn't properly looked into how levels work, so kind of went, I can just wing it, I can do milestone, you know what I mean? And I overall found out a couple sessions in that they've only gone halfway to one location, and then if they get there and I don't give them a level, they're going to be like, oh, because I started them at level 5, since our party had been going through an adventure where they'd felt really weak, so they wanted to feel strong, so I let them start at 5, which made the start a lot easier, but now they're in hardcore mode, because they just got to the Tomb of the Nine Gods. But yeah, I think the XP is a great way to run Tomb of Annihilation, because there's plenty of stuff that happens that you can't expect. The random encounters vary from a single swarm of wasps to 3 frost giants and 3 winter wolves. Woo! There's some pretty interesting ones in here. If the party ends up rolling really high, they could end up with an encounter that they are just not ready for at all. There's a lot of wild animal encounters where if your party's level 3 or 4, they might just die, because that's Tomb of Annihilation. It's a lot more hardcore in the way it presents itself, and a lot less forgiving in comparison to, say, Dragon Heist, where there's a safety net for most things, because no one's trying to kill you in Dragon Heist, really. They're just trying to stop you, because killing looks bad in a city. Party's never like, let's just spare everyone and leave them running, you know what I mean? So yeah, I would recommend going XP. Now, in terms of rewards, I don't know if there's any sort of like charts out there for like completion of areas and stuff like that, but XP can be rewarded not only through encounters, but through completing elements of the story or locations. The first place that the party is likely to go to is Firefinger, because if they're going to hire a guide, which is quite important, because in my Tomb of Annihilation games, normally guides will have advantage and proficiency in the survival skill so that they can properly guide people. But it's likely that the party is going to choose Asuka. That's what they did in my game, because most of them require upfront payment, which is a lot to handle for a new party. Asuka does as well, but if you help her with a side quest, she's free. So I think that that's why Asuka gets picked a lot, and they go to Firefinger. Once they've completed Firefinger, they don't get too much out of it other than that was your payment to Asuka. Granted, they could get the animal mask if they wanted, that lets them, I think it gives them like animal friendship 3 times a day, maybe. That's pretty cool. So yeah, there's not too much in terms of like loot rewards there. The best thing that's going to give them XP in there is the abundance of terrafolk, and there's some spiders and sturges, but it's all going to be pretty minimal. Your party might feel more achieved if they also get an additional 500 XP each for completing it. That might sound like a lot. I like to run my games a little faster. I don't like the critical role idea of sticking with a character in the same campaign for like 4 years. People can do it, that's absolutely fine, but I feel like that would overall make you lose passion for your characters. A Tomb of Annihilation stream that I'd watched for a while, which was ran by Jacob, XP to level 3. If you want to check that out, I think it's a really good campaign and good example on how to run it. Jacob does a pretty good job of it. I think one of the things that happened was the 2 players playing 2 of their characters that they'd had started with at Dragon Heist, they didn't really care about the characters so much. I could tell they were both pretty tired of playing them, and there had been like 3 years in between, I think. So they'd been playing those characters for 3 years. And XP makes things faster, because the party are likely going to try and do things that will give them XP. XP is a great motivator for the party to go and do the quests, if you know what I mean. If they go to Dungrunglung and sort out the grung problem there, they're going to get all the XP for killing a fuck ton of grungs. You know what I mean? And the party's going to want to do that. So it will make them feel like their progression is earned, quick, and good. Tomb of Annihilation is a quick adventure if you run it XP based at a higher level, because the party want to get that XP, they want to get those rewards and stuff like that, and as they continue to do so, it keeps piling up. And I think that one of the reasons that Critical Role lasted 4 years with XP is because they didn't quest as much as most parties do. They did a lot more just chilling about, role-playing. Some of the best moments of Critical Role are just them talking to shopkeepers or each other. And most parties aren't actually like that. Most of them are constantly working towards the next objective, unless the DM has specifically said, here's some downtime, where the players get to go, because they constantly feel like, where's the next adventure, where's the next adventure? Tomb of Annihilation is always the adventure, so it's gonna feel like it's going fast. It's supposed to be, like that's how it's gonna be happening, because it's all full of quest. There are a couple of locations that aren't just big quests. There's the Heart of Ubtao, which has no real hostiles there, unless you make Valindra mad, which you shouldn't. There is Kursabal, which again, there's no real enemies there to be found unless the gargoyles attack. But some of these places aren't exactly quests, and that's space for the party to breathe. XP makes it feel rushed. That's one of the bad things about it. Like, if you've gone 3 sessions and you haven't gotten any, it feels a little weird, and it feels like we should be doing more stuff. And I think it's good for a DM to literally just say, there is no quest to be had here. You have quests elsewhere. Take your time here. Do whatever you want. This is your break. You're in Kursabal. You have a day. Use it to do whatever you'd like. That's one of the things that I failed to do, which I probably should have done, since my parties felt most likely quite rushed, I would imagine, at least. But yeah, that's my advice for running XP in Tomb of Annihilation, from my experience at least, which is 19 sessions as of recording this video. Let me know what you think about the XP system in general in the comments. You can also like the video and subscribe to see more of this stuff. We also have a Discord that you can join in the description, and a neat little store. The Discord is quite popular at this point. We've got a lot of members in there. It's actively chatting a lot. So yeah, come and join if you want to talk to some folks. See ya. Tomb of Annihilation, like frickin',